Go!
Are you guys ready?
Yeah. 100 billion%.
Sip your chai, you got nothing to hide. Yeah, your future's so bright, so just smile like there's no one watching. Early morning on a Saturday, wake up, time to get it started. No one's gonna get in your way, no one's gonna leave you broken hearted. You don't need nobody else, everyone knows you're doing well, so well.
So the first part of our road trip, we are headed to Kelowna, BC from our home in Abbotsford. And it was really fun getting to drive up through the Coquihalla. Not something we do very often. We don't tend to go any farther than, well, Abbotsford. We don't even go to Chilliwack, but it was gorgeous. We left at about 7:30 in the morning, so the sun was still coming up through the mountains, and it was just an absolutely gorgeous drive. I really enjoyed watching the shadows and stuff on all of the different mountains, and it was beautiful. So that was the first part of our drive. The kids did pretty good. Barrett even had a little nap on the first part, and driving through our first leg, we went from Chilliwack to Hope, up into the pass. It's called the Coquihalla, and eventually we will hit it's called the snow shed, and it's really cool because it has some bears on it, and that's how you know you've made it to just about the top of the Coquihalla Pass, or the Coquihalla Summit they call it. And so this is the first little thing. Isn't that so cool? I love it. So that's the first part, and then pretty soon after this is our very first turn off, which is going to be a fun little detour to a place called Falls Lake. Now, it's something I saw in my research for things for us to do, and it was interesting. So we turned down, we got to go through a tunnel, and that was pretty neat because that's not something we do very often, so the kids enjoyed that. But then when we started to turn into where we needed to go, we're actually running up against with the Pipe Mountain coaster that they're in the middle of building. And at first we weren't actually sure if we were going to be able to get through, but they opened the little gate thing, and what it is the one way so that they know who's coming in and who's coming out, and it's nice and safe. But at first we weren't sure about that. So it's this fun little kind of dirt road that you go about. It didn't take very long to get there. We checked with the guy that we were held up for a minute, and checked in with the guy to make sure we could actually do this, and he gave us some pointers because part of the trail is washed out from the big floods that we had back in 2021. But he said, if I can do this hike, anyone can do it. So that made us feel reassuring, taking our 3 kids on a bit of a hike up a mountain. So it was awesome. I enjoyed just driving here. It was fun. And then when we get to the actual trail, it took us about 20 minutes to do it. It wasn't too bad, I'd say. But this is the part where it's been washed out. So they put these logs and this plank, and it was it was fun. I didn't love crossing it. The kids were all a little timid by it. Jackson was fine. He kind of just parkoured his way through, but Barrett was a little nervous. Nora was very unsure. She just was good and held my hand, and we made it across. And in my great thought, I'm wearing a dress on the middle of this hike, so you know, that was smart on my part. But it was a gorgeous hike. The birds were chirping. You could hear all the birds. It was super silent because it's quite out of the way. You have to know where you're going, and you have to be willing to go for a hike. And so there was no one else on the trail with us for the longest time. We passed one couple coming down, but that was about it. So we had the whole trail to ourselves. There were fun little boardwalks to get you through little creeks and stuff, and just listen. Nature at its finest right there. Jackson really loved finding a tree that had fallen over. He thought that was pretty cool. So wanted me to show everyone that. And we found this cool little tiny waterfall, and that was really neat. That was probably his 2 favorite things that he saw on our little walk. And again, we just kind of strolled. There were a few parts that were a little bit trickier than others. There's some cliffs, like pretty you get pretty close to the side that may be a little unnervous, and Nora's a little clumsy at times, so we had to be a little careful. But we finally made it, and just look at this view.
What?
Wow!
What is that?
No fires. Yeah?
Something in it, and there's also a fire right to the
So pretty.
Mommy, look at that people.
There are people, yes.
Oh, yeah. Wait, we don't have to start the day yet. I just wanna stay, even if we run late. This morning, let's take our time. Everybody needs a break, right? Sometimes I wait for just an hour more. What's the rush? Who's calling? Who's calling? I won't ask for much. All I want is sleeping on a Sunday. The morning can put the day on hold.
As you can see, the view is just absolutely breathtaking. I have never seen water that clear before in my life. I think it could put like Lake Louise and being up in the Canadian Rockies. I think it can compete with it, but the kids loved this. I think it was definitely a great way to stretch our legs, and it was so worth the 20-minute hike there and back. No one really got hurt. There was Nora fell once, Sean slid at the very bottom, but thankfully he was totally fine. But other than that, there were no injuries. We got gorgeous photos, and it was definitely a well worth stopover on our way to Kelowna. I mean, just look at these photos. I can't. It looks like you're standing behind a dropping. Like, it doesn't look real. It's crazy. I loved it. So after that, we're doing the rest of it. So we drove through some of the area that got burned by wildfires, and I believe it was last year that this wildfire came through, and you were starting to see a little bit of new growth, which was nice to see that it was recovering. We also went through some clouds and had just a little bit of sprinkling of rain. I saw one flash of lightning, which makes us a little nervous because it's been very dry here in BC, and so lightning strikes can spark new fires, which is of course very scary to think about. But so it was fine. There wasn't a lot of rain. It worked out just fine. But it was kind of neat actually driving through and seeing the clouds and where they were going. And the stretch that you see here, this is on our way down the summit into Merritt. I have a coworker that I used to work with that moved to Merritt, and so every time we go through, I'm like, I'm waving at you. So that was really fun to kind of just message her quickly. And it was fun to go down the hill into Merritt. I always love once you're up driving down, you see the valley, because Merritt's in this kind of valley area, and it's so fun to just see the different landscapes that can happen. And this was just an example of that. So I filmed quite a bit of it because I really wanted to highlight the difference from being up at the top of the summit all the way down here. And then this is the part where when we were coming home from Kamloops last year, we stayed on this road versus getting off at this exit right here. And then you start going up a hill, and it is like the longest hill ever. It is crazy how long it takes to get up this hill, but that is how you know you're on your way into Kelowna. once we saw the lake, it got very real and the kids started to get very excited. So we had to drive through West Bank, which I always find to be the worst part of the whole drive because it takes forever and there's so much traffic. But once you see all these billboards and you start to go around this little curve that's there, you know you're about to hit the bridge and officially be in Kelowna. So this was the best part. The kids were so excited. They knew we were headed to our hotel to drop off our bags and to go back and spend some time in downtown Kelowna and possibly the beach. The weather we were a little iffy with, but you will see that didn't stop us from having fun. So that was our drive. I think in total we left at 7:30. We got there at about, I want to say noon, because we stopped. I think we got, yeah, I'd say about noon. I'm not really sure, maybe 12:30. But it wasn't too bad, and it was well worth the drive up there. We enjoyed our morning of driving. Baby, look, it's a bear!
Damn! It's you, Barrett.
Topsy-turvy, wake up early, could be anywhere. Madly, truly, could have fooled me. Ooh, Cupid, shoot me there. And when the world is burning all around me, I'm the one who's dancing in the flames. Shadows on the sand and ice cream melting in my hand. Look at all the good things, yeah. Just look at all the good things. Smiling till my face is aching, loving till my heart is breaking. Look at all the good things we have.
So once we got to the hotel, dropped our luggage off, which was awesome that we could do that, we drove back down to downtown Kelowna. It's got a bunch of different areas to it and little districts. It's a very fun place. And we parked at City Hall, and then we walked from there down. They had a little market going on because it was the weekend, which was really cool. But we walked out onto the marina. You're allowed to do that, which was fun. The kids loved being out there and looking and seeing all the different things that you possibly could do. We didn't do any we didn't get on a boat. We didn't do any lake stuff. But it was still fun to go check it out, and maybe another time if we just come to Kelowna, it's something we can look at for the future. And then we went to visit the fountain. I remember this fountain as a kid. My grandparents lived in Kelowna, so I went to Kelowna a lot as a kid in the summer. They actually own lakeshore property, so it was pretty fun, and that was something I really remembered was that sailboat statue. So I had to get some photos there, and then we walked out to, it's called Hot Sands Beach, and it's kind of the last beach before the bridge that we crossed to get into Kelowna. And we spent the rest of our afternoon, I'd say, until we went to go check into the hotel there. Kids loved it. So when we first got there, we're like, we're not going to go swimming at the beach today because it's kind of cloudy and we didn't think it was going to work out very well. But by the time we got there, it had warmed up and it was sunny and it was fine. And so the kids I was like, that's fine, get your shorts wet or whatever. But kids being kids, they all decided to go wet. Sean went in there as well. It was all good. They were having fun. We let it go. We were going straight to the hotel anyways, so it was an easy enough switch to get them dried off and changed once we got back. But it was really neat to let them play. We were there for a while. They really loved it there. I enjoyed just walking and enjoyed this. If you could listen to this for a minute, hold on. Definitely brought back all the lovely memories of being at the lake when I was a kid and the sounds of the waves crashing up against the shore. So that was really neat. I got some super cute photos of the kids, and it was just a great way to kind of wrap up the afternoon and officially being on vacation, I guess. The drive was part of it, but actually being there was definitely the highlight, and I took way too many photos to share them all, but I did include as many as I could, some of my favorites from being at the beach, and I don't think anyone burned, so that was a bonus too, because we tend to burn quite easily as a family, but I think everyone was okay this round, so that was awesome. We did end our downtown with some ice cream. Oh, so good. And I highly recommend heading there. It's literally right off the beach. So go check out I think it's called Parlor. But it was amazing. And then we caught this cute little photo with the moose. And then it was pool time after that. There was a really awesome pool at the hotel. And so we spent the rest of the time there. We were meeting up with some friends from school, Jackson and Nora's friends from school, and so they showed up too, and that was how we wrapped up our first day on vacation in Kelowna.